Yeah, so we are talking with Fazir Mohammed and we're discussing the issue of the West Indies cricketers and their posture at the moment in the UAE as they get ready to defend their title at the T20 World Cup. The West Indies Players Association, WIPA, has been called out over its low public profile in recent months. And in an article published by Ghana's Starbrook News, writer Tony McQuart highlighted that the Players' Union's mentorship program has yet to begin. That is a topic that we'll be discussing on the show as well. But we still have Fazir Mohammed on the line, and we are continuing to discuss the issue of the West Indies cricketers getting ready for the T20 World Cup title defence, and they feel that they are being fed negative vibes from journalists and former players as they get ready. Here's Nicholas Pooran, who is vice-captain of the West Indies team going into the T20 World Cup.
As much as everyone question why this, whatever the case is, 14,000 T20 runs don't come by guess. That's one. Just batting out in the middle experience again, talking about intent, talking about taking on players, talking about when to go, when not to go. You don't get that. Not much people know how to play. Not much players know how to win T20 games or even T20 leagues or titles. That experience is, is very valuable for us. Like today, for instance, batting with him today in practice, trying my best to learn as much as I can, even in that short space of time while we're batting there. It's valuable. You don't get that just so. That's experience. And, we are very happy in this group here. Even off the cricket field, he's someone who will, support you 100% and back you 100%. We talk about positivity. He's one of the most positive guys we have, in the Caribbean and in this team here. So that's it. That's it for me here. That's it for me in terms of, answering this question about Chris. He's a special human being, and only when you play cricket with him and against him, then you know how it feels to have him around. For instance, he can make 10 runs of 20 balls, but just his presence make captains change their plans. It's things like that you look at, when you're playing T20 games. For instance, Chris Gayle is batting and your trump card is maybe a leg spinner or a left arm orthodox. You may not use them in the right timing. So all these things you consider when you're looking at T20 cricket, But the fact of Chris Gayle being in a team and that 11, that changes our captain plans because, as I said, 14,000 T20 runs don't come just so.
Yeah, well, it's clear that the captain wanted Chris Gayle in the team and the coach wanted Chris Gayle in the team and the selectors as well. I'll put my hand up. I have Chris Gayle in the World Cup squad. He was on my squad, so I have nothing against Chris Gayle being in the setup. And we heard Phil Simmons speak a couple of days ago about him having a specific role in the team. Now, if Chris Gayle in this World Cup doesn't play every single match, wouldn't you then, Fazir, take that as an acceptance by the coaching staff that he is not an automatic pick? Which is what Curtly Ambrose was saying.
By definition, it would be absolutely correct. So, Lance, we are expending a lot of energy over something. And I understand the point. I understand the reasons why we're getting so worked up about it. But I prefer to live by the principle. You do your job, let me do mine. Says that. Don't be so fast and out of place to tell me how to do my job. And by the same token, it is my job to analyze, and it is for you and the public to decide, have I been balanced? Have I been unbalanced? Have I been unfair? And if I've been unfair and if I clearly have an agenda against you, I'm going to lose credibility. And for being in the same way and being in any sort of public profile, being in the media requires a different type of tough exterior, in the sense that nobody wants to be disliked by the people that they are covering and reporting on. But if you have to choose between being someone who tries as best as possible to be balanced, to be fair, to be critical where necessary, to offer praise where necessary, or to be a flag-waving cheerleader and supporter, and therefore you're always around, you've got all the selfies with all the big players and so on, you're invited to dinner, their homes, and whatever else it is, and you're always liming with them. If that matters to you, fine. But if you operate by the principle, you do your job, I do mine, and even if it's never the twain shall meet, so be it.
Yeah, you know what? And George and Mariah, we heard Nicholas Pooran say that a few minutes ago as well, that the journalists have their job to do, and they have their job to do as well. So certainly in that narrative, there was an acceptance from Nicholas Pooran's standpoint that, in a way, he does understand journalists and analysts making these comments. And I have to say as well about the Curtly Ambrose comments, that he was being interviewed on the Mason and Guest show.
Yeah,
he didn't go out of his way to put a commentary in the newspaper or offer his comments. He was simply responding to questions from Andrew Mason. And I'm not sure if Chris Gayle wanted Curtly Ambrose to lie and not speak honestly about his feelings and how he analyzes Chris Gayle's form. Chris Gayle has made only one half century in T20 cricket, I think, in the last 6 years or so. So his form isn't what it used to be. So Curtly Ambrose is recognizing the facts as they are. But I keep saying, Ambrose himself said Chris Gayle can be a very destructive batsman on his day and gave Chris Gayle that credit. So I don't think in any way, shape or form Chris Gayle was being, well, Ambrose was suggesting that Chris Gayle has no place in the team and should not play. I don't think that's what he was saying at all.
Yeah, and as opposed to the way that Chris Gayle answered on Pollard, can I just say how impressed I am with the manner in which Nicholas Pooran handled the media? Because even when he made the explanation, he said similar things like they did. But I felt as if you got a bit more reasoning from him. Like you can say, all right, Nicholas Pooran is giving us an answer that, you know, it makes sense, you know, I can take that and maybe I can ask you something else. It didn't come across as standoffish, and I think for me it was reasonable. Yeah?
Yeah. Didn't shut the door on the conversation is the point being made. But Fazir, saying this and saying that, I've been thinking about what the effect of this strategy will have. Do you think, well, what minimum result, because we know what the maximum result is, what minimum result, Fazir, you think would, in hindsight, warrant this approach being taken to journalists and media practitioners and analysts in this part of the world by our own ambassadors looking to play at the World Cup?
I just think it's about being unable to understand or appreciate. And again, we have a long history of this, that many of our public personalities do not understand. And in fact, to be honest with you, many of our journalists do not understand what the role of a journalist is. A studio announcer and a DJ with a mic in his hand and headphones is not a journalist, right? So the thing is that at the end of the day, if I had made the mistake and been a media officer for anybody, I would say just respond to it. These are the concerns. We understand what you're saying. I know there hasn't been a satisfactory rationale the way you see it, but really, this is all we can tell you. Our minds are focused on the game, the tournament that is coming up. I fully appreciate the points that you've raised, but at this point, this is the squad that we've got, and we can try our best. I'm not going to go in the direction of saying, well, you know, you have an agenda. Why do you always ask this question? Why? Because that is the job. And again, because they have not answered it adequately or satisfactorily and left more questions than answers, the questions will be continued to be asked. But, as I said, it may work in a positive. They may use all of this perceived negativity as a way to show all of these doubting Thomases wrong and stuff it down their throat because they're out to get us. We're going to prove everybody wrong when the first ball is bowled on the 23rd.
Yeah, well, let's hope that they win it and then have the last laugh, and they can always say, well, this is why we wanted good vibes, because you see, we channeled the good vibes and we went on and won the whole thing for a third time. Fazir Mohammed, always a pleasure speaking with you, sir. All the best.
Well, it might actually be a case of bring on the bad vibes. If you could win a World T20 with these bad vibes, bring it on.
Here you are, that, my friend. All right. I know you don't drink Kool. I know you're not a Kool-Aid drinking man, but there you go. Fazir Mohammed there from the Faz Mahal. When we return, Wayne Lewis is in the hot seat.